When life throws you a curveball, how are you going to handle adversity? Welcome to the Fearless Mindset Podcast, where you're about to go on a journey as I interview security, business, and entertainment leaders on what it takes to stay fearless. I'm your host, Mark Ludlow, and enjoy today's episode. We're back, folks. Welcome to the podcast, Fearless Mindset Podcast, brought to you by, sponsored by Ludlow Security Group. This is Mark Ludlow. And we have an amazing guest this time. We tried doing a recording when he was in Lebanon, but it didn't go too well. It's a little too many power outages and whatnot, and Wi-Fi connections, as you guys can imagine, being overseas. But we connected with him. Sam is in demand. He's a very well-needed commodity right now with the international politics going crazy, as you can imagine. Sam is a Marine, retired. Worked for some other government agencies. That's about what we'll say about that for now. And he is also the author of The Tightening Dart, his story of being held as an American hostage in Yemen. He was actually held hostage by terrorists, and he'll go into that too. But I know you guys will all want to listen to this episode with Sam and the author of The Tightening Darkness, his story about being held hostage in Yemen by terrorists. And he also worked with to give him some street creds out there. For all you operators, Blackwater followers, and alum of Blackwater, anybody that knows Eric Prince, Sam knows Eric Prince personally or business-wise. So that gives him some street creds. But he doesn't need that street creds. He's a United States Marine, so that's enough street creds right there.
Gotcha.
Sam has been all over the world, but mainly in the Middle East. He's a subject matter expert in the Middle East. And he has seen some, trying to keep it clean a little bit as much as I can. Sam, welcome back. I'm glad we got you before you flew out again for another security consulting project that you're ready to head out to. How you doing?
Good. Mark, thank you. Thank you for having me again. And like you said, the internet and the power outage that was coming on when we did the first interview. But now that I'm back in the good old USA, much better. And great to be back here and back in the USA to spend the holidays with my family. We had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I hope everybody else did the same. It was great having the whole family together. This is the first Thanksgiving without my mother, who passed away 3 months ago. So it was a little tough not having her around, cooking everything else. So everybody had to pick up the tap and do something. But it was great. It's just great to be here.
Yeah, I know what you mean by that, Sam. My mom's been gone 6 years, congestive heart failure. My dad passed away 2 years ago from brain cancer. It's just not the same when mom and dad are gone. It's just that void, and especially the Thanksgiving, the cooking and everything, just the tradition of what we did back then and what the mother's role was back then. And they're like the glue keeping the family together.
Yes,
and
they
it's
are.
like not the same when you lose one or two. It's just not the same. Yesterday with Thanksgiving, and it was at my sister's house. I forced myself to take off. I had ample opportunity to work, make some great money in the last few days in San Francisco. As everybody knows, San Francisco is blowing up, go to hell right now because of all the crime and smash and grab and go. And I told myself, you know what? I've done a lot of holes and walls in my day, protecting royal families in Beverly Hills. You know what? Do I really have to go? No, I don't. I'm going to stay home, just relax. And, like you said, it's great to be with family and friends and just celebrate the day. Force yourself to take a mental day off. I'm sure you felt the same way, not having to be on the phone, being around family and having some fun with the kids and all that.
Yes, it is. You take that time, and you know what? And it's exactly what it is. Thanksgiving. Thanks for everything that we have, and we enjoy it, and never take it for granted. I can tell you that for a fact now. Never take it for granted.
Yeah, personally from being held hostage down there and a prisoner by those terrorist groups, and exactly what it has to have your freedom taken away from you for a little while, and then spending the day yesterday with your family. You just gotta go, wow. You just kiss the ground you're walking on because you know what that freedom feels like.
Oh, yes. I mean, when I was there, quite a few holidays that went by. One of them was, I mean, the first one was, Memorial Day, and I would be sitting there in the cell thinking about, oh wow, I could be marching in that Memorial Day parade in Dearborn, Michigan, where we have the parade every year, and I march in it. And it's like you just sit there and wonder. And then 4th of July, and my daughter's birthday. And then Ramadan came along, and for us Muslims, the holiday after Ramadan, which the whole families get together. It's like just like our Christmas and all of that, where the family gets together and have the big feast after fasting for 30 days. The same thing, but over there, it's like alone in the cell, and they give you some almonds and raisins to just celebrate the festive holiday. So yeah, now
Right.
yeah. So now every time that these holidays come around, and and you go back and remember where you were at, it's like, yes, it's good to be home. It's good to be with family. A lot of people, I want to say, a lot of people still take it for granted, and it's there. And I don't want to wish it on anybody, that to happen what happened to me, to realize and not to take it for granted that these things are very important. And just today in the sermon, I was at Friday's prayer and the sermon was, in the Quran, it says, uh, not only to give thanks, there is a verse, not only to give thanks to God for everything, but to give thanks for everybody that's around you, and especially your parents. Pick up the phone on Thanksgiving or in any holiday or any occasions that is that gives you that freedom, that life, that all that, and pick it up and say, hi dad, hi mom, thank you, and all of that. Which reminds me of my cousin Paul Hamsey, who is, on his birthday, he would take a bouquet of flower every year, a huge bouquet of flower, and go and give it to his mother, and tells her, thank you for having me. And it's amazing, that's something rare, but
Here, mom, here's some flowers. Thanks for my birth.
yep, he does, and
Right.
and it's something that we need to, not to take for granted. Like you said, yeah, enjoy it while you're, it's there. There's gonna be another day to make money, believe me. But
That's
that
interesting you
day
mentioned
without
that.
your family, it's gone.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I was just curious. I threw a poll out on LinkedIn and said, if you had the opportunity to be home with your family, or what would you do on Thanksgiving? Be home with your family, or work, be a bodyguard for $500 a day? Which one do you pick? And right now, the stay at home with family is more important than making money, is outwinning the other poll.
Yep, it
I
is.
just posted it yesterday on my LinkedIn. I'm like, I'm just curious what the response will be. And right now, people would rather be home with their family than making money. So I think we're seeing a change in the generation of executive protection people in the protective industry, that they're just changing their priorities. They value family and friends over making money. So that's a big difference lately in the last few years.
Either that, or we're getting older. We just can't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, you've been at it for a while, a little bit longer than I have. You've seen everything. So tell me,
Yes.
Sam, you're retired. I mean, you got some amazing stories, which you probably put in your book that you wrote. And what was the main reason why you wrote The Tightening of the Dart? What was the sole purpose of that book?
Well, originally we started doing when we started talking about doing the book, me and Ben Balhas, the co-author with this. As a matter of fact, Ben is a colonel in the United States Army, currently on active duty. He is the what they call the defense attaché in Uzbekistan. But he was, I met him in Yemen, as a matter of fact. He was man in my seat 10 years later after I left. In 2014, he was the army attaché in Yemen, and we met over there. And so after this incident, and we were talking about it, and we wanted to do the book, I said, you know what, let's do it. And I want you to be the co-author with me, because he's got a couple of books out also written out there. And I said, because the environment that I was in, the country that I was in, everything. If I was to tell you I was on that corner, you'd know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't have to explain it so many times. But we started out that we want to do the story about what happened to me in Yemen, the 6 month of captivity, 177 days with the Houthis. And the main reason that I was kidnapped simply because I was an American. I was a former Marine, that they knew that I was a former Marine, and because I worked for Defense Intelligence at that time when I was in Yemen for 3 years, right after 9/11. But when we started to do the book, and then we started talking to our editor, Paul Bidgen, and we started going back and forth, and he wanted to know more about me besides the incident. And then he started saying, okay, wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute. Every time we go backwards into my, history, and how I, where I was born. And he's like, okay, so, born in southern Lebanon, left Lebanon at an early age, came to the United States when you were 10 years old. You went through the culture change. You went through the assimilation of becoming an American, and you joined the Marine Corps, and then you did this and this and this. Wait a minute, and we were at a time that was 2 years ago when we started writing the book, about 2.5 years ago.
Right.
And all the the anti-immigration and anti-Muslim and anti-thing that's going on in America. He said, no, people should know, that what immigrants come to America do contribute. Now we're talking about legal immigrants, just like how I came into the United States and all of that. And he wanted people to know that, this country, how it valued the immigrants 200 years ago, and how they became and assimilated to become US citizens and Americans. And we still have the same thing, even 50 years ago, but we still have the same thing that is still going on. Immigration still good for the United States. It's still good for, the country, that we bring in people that can contribute to the better life in America. And, so he said, no, we want to do a book about your life, not just the incident. And so we started with that, going back all the way back to, February of 1961, where I was born, and going from there and moving on, and moving to Libya. I was in Libya in 1968 to 1971 when we came to the US. And one of the reasons that we moved to the US was when we were in Libya and Gaddafi came into power in 1969 when we were there. And things started going downhill with that. So my mother decided to come to the United States to meet her brother, which she have never met. Our roots, even though we came in 71, but our roots go back all the way to 1906, where my great-grandfather came. And then my grandfather came during the Depression, and he got married and had a child, my uncle. And then he went back to Lebanon and got married over there and started a new family. But my grandmother, step-grandmother, and my uncle stayed here. So my mother wanted to meet my uncle, which she have never met. And so she came, she saw this, great nation. And a month later, when she went back to Libya, she told my dad, we're packing and going to America. And that's how it all started to, come into America.
Wow, great story.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have, the immigration thing is a big issue right now, as you know, especially with the south border, Mexico and Texas and everywhere else. I mean, I've never seen it so crazy like that. What's your thoughts on immigration as far as especially Mexican border and all that?
Well, what's going on over there is horrific. I mean, it's a shame. We feel for these people. You feel for them down there, and you feel for the separations that started. And that's one thing that we always, again, immigration. As an immigrant, I feel very strongly about it. Of course, we'd all love it to be legally immigrated to the United States. But sometimes you have these instances where these people are coming in, and you have to deal with them. Yeah, it's very difficult to take this issue and look at one side and look at the other side. Yes, you have to fear for people that are coming in for drug dealers and corruption and all of that, and you have to look at the other side with the human side or humanity side of these people that are coming in to looking for a better life. It's very difficult to but the government I mean, one day they're on this side and one day they flip to the other side, depending on who's in the administration. Instead of getting together and finding a solution, they keep pegging at each other at the problem. Find a solution for these people, find a solution for this problem, put an end to it. Don't, it started with Trump's administration and now it's Biden's administration. And they both flip-flop on the issue. They're all worried about their next election, the ratings, instead of dealing with the problem. So
right.
I tell you, it's very tough down there, and it's very tough.
Right. Yeah, I'm kind of curious. A lot of people on the podcast, other listeners are military, in the executive protection world, a lot of executives. And through Nick was telling me through a conversation, Nick is a mutual friend of ours that introduced us, and he's out of the Bay Area. And Nick was telling me that you were instrumental in working with Eric Prince and doing different projects in the Middle East. What was that like, that interaction, and what type of business, what type of situations were those?
I met Eric Prince in Abu Dhabi after he's done with Blackwater. I had the opportunity to join Blackwater a couple of times and decided not to. And I went on to work for, I don't know if, I like Eric, but I went on to work, as a matter of fact, instead of going to work for Blackwater, I went to work for Rudy Giuliani.
Oh, that was a good one. I forgot about that. You told me that in the other podcast. So you went to work with the mayor.
Exactly. At that time, he has a security consultancy company, part of his Giuliani group. And at that time, we had a contract in Qatar, training the intelligence service. And it was a very, very lucrative contract for him until, he decided not to continue with it when he was running for president in 2008. So he decided, to pull out of the contract. But working for, later on, I think it was in 2011 or 12, I met Eric in Abu Dhabi through a friend of ours. And we were working, doing just, testing some equipment for him. And part of it working on just doing consultancy on Yemen. So it wasn't a lot of, I don't want to say tactical stuff, more like admin stuff and stuff. And yeah. So, but it was good. We met a few times in Abu Dhabi. Good guy. I met him the last time I met him. It was at IDEX coming out after I got out of the right after I got out of the captivity. The following year, we ran into each other at IDEX, and he came up and said, hugged me and sorry to hear what happened to you. He followed my story.
Did he?
And yeah, he did. He was following what's going on with me and all of that. Good guy. Some people, have different opinions. It depends
Sure.
on who you meet,
Exactly.
but, yeah.
I look at Eric Prince as a warrior for our country, a war hero. He saved America's ass when we weren't prepared for the Iraqi invasion. I read his book, and he wrote perfectly why he was asked to go do it by the government, because the government wasn't ready for Iraq, and they needed Eric to make it successful. And Eric provided something the military wasn't ready for, and that was probably the first time in probably U.S. history this ever happened, except for during the early days of the starting of America. And that was pretty historical for him to be able to do something like that. And the guy's, he's an amazing businessman. The guy has got probably a genius level IQ in business, I would guess, the stuff he pulls off.
Oh yeah, he did. He went in there and took on a role that, like you said, the U.S. wasn't ready for it. And all these, the State Department, the agency, all these guys, they didn't have the additional security to be able to provide for all these people going out there, and and the military. The military protected itself, but the civilians that were out there, all of the contractors and stuff like that, they're required to have all of this, but they weren't able to provide them with that, the security. And he did a real good job. Now, some of the things that do happen, this happens on the individual levels, whether in the military, whether in contractors, whether agency, whether State Department, certain incidents that happen, somebody just overreacts, even in the military. You've heard of Al Ghraib prison, what happened over there. And these are military, and they're subject to the, uniform code of military justice. And
right.
so you can't hold the whole organization accountable for the act of one person who just overreacts. So, but he did a good job, and he's doing well.
That's great. And Eric Prince, if you're listening to this, much respect to you, sir, and thank you for what you've done for our country as a Navy SEAL and now as a businessman. And the biggest respect, and you have an open invite to the podcast. If you ever want to come on, love to have you. So thanks again, sir, for what you do. And I just want to echo that Sam's feelings towards you too, as well, if you're listening. And to the audience, this show is about Sam and what he did, and we're going to get into him being held hostage and what that was like here in a few minutes, but kind of build the foundation of Sam's background to where he's at now. And Sam's a legend in the Middle East, and heck, he knows Eric Prince. Eric Prince just gave him a hug. So that should tell you something about who Sam really is. This guy's a legend. He's an icon in the military, highly regarded among his peers. And a lot of young guys probably don't know who he is. You know who Byron Rogers is, I'm sure, if you're listening to this, because Byron Rogers probably started the podcast for protectors. But Sam is a legend in his own right. He's done a lot of things for our country, and a Marine Corps vet, and much respect to Sam too. And we have Sam on just to highlight his accomplishments in his career. And we're going to do a deep dive in his capture here in a minute. And we just want to, build the baseline so people understand who you are, Sam. So anyway, just want to let that audience know that. And while we're at it, Sam, where can people find you if they're curious about maybe doing some business with you overseas? What's the best way to reach out to you?
I'm on LinkedIn, Sam Farran. They can reach me through LinkedIn. On Facebook also, they could, message me through that. On Opportunity, also on Bayet, they'll find me on there. Also, they have all of my, information on there.
Okay.
Or just Google Sam Farran, I'll just pop up.
You'll just pop up with your book, right?
Exactly. The first thing that will pop up is my book when you Google Sam. So you can go ahead and buy it. It's okay.
Just buy it on Amazon. I just saw it for sale. It's The Tightening of the Dart, Sam's book. You just authored it. As Tightening Dart. and check that out. So let's go into 24 hours before you got captured. I know you're going back to get some equipment out of there and destroy whatever you had because the terrorists, basically the terrorist organizations were coming in to capture and do whatever they got to do, and you're just trying to get out of there as fast as you could, but wasn't quite fast enough.
Yeah, well, the Houthis came into Sana'a late in 2014. And prior for them to coming in there, I wrote a report, and I send it up the chain. Despite that, I didn't work for them, but I was consultant for some of the agency and some of my friends. A couple of my friends who were the defense attaché at that time, and also in Yemen. We told them that you got to start looking at these guys, the Houthis, that are preparing to come into Sana'a and take over Sana'a, but no action was taken on them. So later on, the U.S. embassy packed and left Yemen around I believe the end of 2014. They lowered the flag and left. I went in back in 2015 because I had still had some clients that were still in there, and we needed to get them out and get some of their equipment out of there. And so I went in there for 10 days to do that job. As soon as I went in there, I went in on a Friday, and we started getting some people out of there. I had another client that insisted on coming in, and I, even though I recommended that he does not come in, but the company said he needs to come in to clean up the office. They can't leave the office like that. They have to clean up the office. Later on, we knew why he had to come in and clean up the office. But he came in under that pretense to, the same thing. The Houthis were already in. The Houthis already came into Sana'a in like around September of 2014. And and that's when I left also. And I pulled, most of the people that I was consulting for out of there. And one of them is BAT, British American Tobacco, and few NGOs from the US that we, told them that they had to leave, and they left. So I still had, just a little bit left over there that they needed to stay there. And I went back even, I was advised not to go back by some of the people I had within the government of Yemen, who were, of course, anti-Houthis, and they were leaving also. And they strongly recommended that I don't go in. But my responsibility to our people, to our expats, and to our clients, as you know, when you take on that responsibility, you have to continue with that responsibility. I mean, you're not there to collect that paycheck in peacetime and good times. You're there to collect that paycheck when the shit hits, or in the crap hits the fan. I know. We're doing the podcast.
It's all right.
Yeah.
I've heard worse on the podcast.
Yeah. But, people like you and myself understand this,
Right.
that we're not just collecting that, paycheck, 90% of the times it is nice and it is peaceful and you're collecting that check. But, on that 10% of that time, you need to be there. Your company requests you to be there, and that's what they're paying you for. And you just don't walk out. I mean, it's not just, you're walking out on, even though they're civilians, it's the same thing. You're, just like you take the oath, when you first swearing in to protect the Constitution of the United States of America, and that includes the citizens of the United States of America. And it's the same thing when you sign a contract saying, that I will, protect your people. It's the same thing. You're taking an oath to protect these people. And that's what I said, no, I still have to go in and get them out. So we did. I went in and we got most of them out. Only one, left, Scott, who came in a day after I did, even though me and him met up in Dubai, and I explained to him that the situation is really getting bad, and his supervisors, but they insisted on sending him in. Later, in the book, you'll discover why. But we went in about 4 days, and about 4 days after I've been in country. Now the war has been going on, but it's been on and off, on and off. And 4 days on the 25th of March in 2015, that's when the air war kicked off. The Saudi Arabia coalition kicked off the air war on Yemen. So I was, and so the first thing they did was started bombing the airport and bombing, the planes and bombing everything, so nothing can get in and get out. Because Sana'a sits in a, like a valley, and the only way out of there, through certain roads, and be able, because it sits up so high, or the air. There's no ports or anything like that anywhere near around it. So they wanted to knock that out so nobody can get in or get out. 24 hours before, getting captured, I started to, make plans for myself to leave, even though that got hit. The only planes that were allowed to come in and do evacs from then on was the UN. And the UN was evacuating diplomatic personnels from all of, different embassies that, they have requested the UN to go in and get them out. And so the American embassy, since the American embassy was gone, my only option was to get a hold of the Lebanese embassy, since I'm a dual citizen, and said, hey, tag on to that and get the hell out of there. And so I was talking on the phone with the ambassador over there, Ambassador Hadi, and to arrange for me to get out of there with him. At the same time, get Scott out, with me. And he was working on that. As a matter of fact, when 24 hours after that, when they came in when the Houthis came in and knocked on the door to come in, they have been going around for the previous 3-4 months. They've been going around to all of the villas, all the foreign companies, residents and offices, and they've been going under the pretense that they are the National Security Bureau, and they are going in to check for contrabands of alcohol, porno, all of that kind of stuff that is they consider contraband. So they were going around and doing that, and doing it legitimately also, because reports were coming in while I was out of the country. Reports were coming in that they have been going in, and doing that. And so they came under the same pretense to check the villa that I was living in. So they did not dash the villa, or they came. They spoke with the guard at the gate. I had like about 5-6 guards out there who are armed, but these are, they're armed to protect me against terrorist group, not against official or legitimate government troops or police or the National Security Bureau, which is equivalent to our National Security Administration. So they came and asked, would like to come in, and politely, they would like to come in and inspect the residence. And we said, they called me on the house phone. They said, Mr. Sam, the NSB would like to come in and, not the Houthis, the NSB, they said, coming in to inspect the residence. Now I knew the NSB have taken over the Houthis have taken over the NSB and have taken over, 90% of the, the government offices, and that they're running, they're the seniorship within all of the government offices. But I said, okay. And I knew they have been doing that for the past, 3 to 4 months with other residences and other other company offices. I said, sure, come on, let him in. So I was on the phone with the ambassador, and we're said, he's telling me hopefully by tomorrow or the next day, I'll be able to, I'm leaving and on a UN plane, and I'll put your name on there as a Lebanese citizen, and you'll be able to leave with us. Said, okay. As I'm talking to him, they walk in, and as soon as they walk in, they just grab the phone from my hand, grab the phone from Scott, shut down the computers, and order me to sit down on the dinner table.
What went through your brain? Do you have like little shock and awe go through your head? This is not normal behavior. What was going through your head at that moment?
Well, right there and then, yes. It's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? They said, nothing is going on. We just, I said, why are you taking my phone? They said, no phone calls, no contact with nobody right now until we finish our search. I said,
that was odd.
Yes, it was. But at the same time, we have done that, the same thing. Or, even here, it's practice to go in, if they're going in with a search warrant or anything like that, it's like, hey, you can't talk to nobody, or especially if you're going in under the, different, what's called different terrorist acts or anything like that. That's it. They take you in 6 months, you can't talk to nobody. But, we have the same thing. But these guys are coming in under the pretense of just searching for contraband. Nothing, they didn't have any other legal basis that I have done anything illegal over there. So, they grabbed the phone, grabbed everything. They shut down my computer, Scott's computer, and they made me sit, across from Scott at the dining table. And one of the, 6 or 7 guys that came in that are armed in M4s, wearing camis, our M4s, of course. And 3 guys that are wearing traditional, got their faces covered. I presume that they're the NSB guys. And the other guys are the counterterrorism unit. So one of the, here's one of the ironies that come into place is the counterterrorism unit, that CTU unit, back in the days when I was assigned to Yemen right after 9/11, as the assistant defense attaché, I was the liaison officer to train the first CTU unit. The first counterterrorism, yes, the first counterterrorism unit. I was the liaison officer to train them. Well, it was in 2002, right after 9/11, and so they're standing there and they're calling themselves Marines because they're wearing our uniforms, the camis, and they're carrying our weapons, the M4s, and that's what they call themselves. So, and I'm sitting there, and it's like, yeah, if you only knew what a real Marine is,
If they only had a clue.
Yeah, absolutely none, but just sat there. And
they wanted to wear the badge of honor, but they had no clue what it takes to earn the badge of honor.
Absolutely none. Absolutely none.
And these are people you trained?
Not these people. I mean, I started doing my first training was in 2002. This is 2015, 13 years later.
Years later.
Yeah. Yeah. But there are the same people and still being trained by the U.S. They are still trained by the U.S.
Wow.
Yes. Yes. And, funded by the U.S. and,
and they're about ready to take you off in shackles with U.S. dollars funding them and interrogate you.
Absolutely. At a U.S.
Holy
built
crap.
facility.
Holy crap. That's so wrong.
It's like, every time I would think about it, it's like, my tax dollars at work
Yeah, I'm about ready
against
to be
me, but at work.
chained by my own tax dollar chains.
It is. It was.
That's crazy. That is
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, it was, and it is. Now, that was one irony about the CTU, right? Now, the other irony, you're ready to laugh at this one even better. These guys that came in under the pretense of NSB, the National Security Bureau. So back in 2002, when the NSB was created in Yemen, I was on the first meeting between our officials and the Yemeni officials to create this.
Wow.
The NSB. Yeah. Back then,
had your name stamped all over it.
All over it. As a matter of fact, it was, at that time, National Security Advisor Frances Townsend.
I know that name.
Yeah. Yeah, she was the advisor to President Bush. And she came to Yemen. And at that time, believe it or not, I was her driver, shooter, and translator.
Wow. How cool is that?
Yep. And I was on the first meeting to create the National Security Bureau. And here they are. Yep. And here they are kidnapping me under that pretense. Yeah.
Holy smoke. You're probably going, this is just a bad movie about ready to happen.
Oh, well, we're thinking about it.
So they tell you to shut down the computer, get off your phone. And then what was the time lapse between when they put you in your individual cell? Was that within a few hours they decided to put you in a cell and hold you prisoner for a while?
Yeah. It took about 2 hours for them to ransack the whole residence, the villa. And they started packing everything. And I'm like, during that time, every time I would try to say something, the guy is standing above me, standing behind me with the M4 would, tap me with the with the butt of the M4 on my head or my shoulder, say, be quiet, And every time it's like, okay, no problem. So about 2 hours after that, they asked me to go outside and they wanted to do a perimeter check. And I said, okay, let's do a perimeter check. And so when I got up to go with them, they asked Scott to come out. That's when it started to get, it's like, what do you want Scott for? Scott is my guest. He could stay here. I'm the one that's coming out, with you to check the perimeter. So I went out and they took him out. And as soon as we went outside, the cars, they already had, pre-positioned and everything. And the next thing I knew is, they said, put your hands up. I said, put my hands up for what?
Oh, God.
Like, yeah.
No, wow.
And that's when it started to go south. I put my hands up and they put the shackles on. Not handcuffs, actual shackles. I mean,
shackles.
Shackles.
They put your hand behind your back or in front of you?
No, in the front. In the front.
So you're shackled up there, and then they have put shackles on your feet too?
Nope, just the front. And it's like I'm looking at it, and it's like, what the hell? I didn't even finish the sentence, and the next thing there was a bag on my head.
Oh,
wow! That was it. Yep. And
your head's spinning, like, okay, I have how much more time left on this earth?
Yeah, I thought it was it right there and then. I mean, of course, when they do that and they put that, well, I thought that was it. But yet again, another thing came into my mind is, when you shackle somebody, you're not gonna kill them right away. You don't want them to go.
Interesting.
Yeah. So as soon as they put that and they shoved me into the Land Cruiser, it was a white Land Cruiser, and they shoved me in there, and right there and then my head went into the training mode. Okay, we've been trained for this. In case this something happens, you got to keep a cool head. You gotta, just yell and scream at them to this, to just create a little bit of chaos, but at the same time maintain your concentration on where you're going. Since I know the area very well, I said, I'm gonna, just concentrate where that truck is driving. And where are we going? So I would know where we are going. So we started, driving. We were not the villa, made a right turn, going down first, speed bump, second speed bump, got to the main road, made a right, right there. All of that is in my head. I'm envisioning it, like I'm driving. So, we make a right turn and we're going down, 2-3 minutes, and we come around the first, runabout, and I could feel, just going around the little circle and maintaining the same course, and it's all there. We drive about 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden, the car stops, the truck stops, and right there and then they start stripping me out of my clothes, ripping them off. I mean, they had with scissors or a knife or whatever, but they were just cutting it and taking everything, down to just my underwear, shoes, socks, everything. I was wearing a sports jacket like that, real nice one, and shirt and everything was cut and taken off, down to the underwear. And then they take me out of the vehicle and they throw me into a Humvee. And a Humvee, you can tell the Humvee engine anywhere. When it's the diesel engine running, that GM engine running, you could tell it anywhere. And been around them for a long time. So they throw me in the back of the Humvee, still in shackles, still, bag over my head, don't know where I'm at. At that time, yes, I did know where I'm at still. And then we got into the Humvee and we were at a runabout. And they drove around the runabout for like about, 7-8 times maybe, disoriented by that time, and started going. That's when I lost it. It's like, okay, we're done. We're not, this is far worse than expected. Then we drove for about, I want to say about 10 minutes to 15 minutes, and we got, to a place, and they told, they parked, dragged me out. Now I'm barefooted and everything, excuse me, barefooted, and they walked me into a building. We were walking on a bunch of rocks and stuff like that, uneven road. And so you can't tell where you're at. When I started walking on rocks and like this, the only thing that came to my mind that I am out of the city, Sana'a, because I know, when you're out of the city, the roads are not that well. And when you go into the side roads, they're not paved. It's all rocks. So when we parked and they got me out, it started, to be rough. From there, they did an inventory on my stuff. Half of it was missing. My money was missing. My pistol was missing. They wouldn't put it on, put it within the inventory. I wouldn't sign the inventory. We went back and forth, and then they left, and 2 guys came in and started doing the interrogation. The interrogation went on for about 2 hours. I want to say about 2 to 3 hours. Good, started with the good cop, bad cop thing, and then the beatings started for about 2 hours until I was unconscious. And that's when they dragged me to my first cell.
I mean, were they using fist on your face? Were they using metal? What were they doing to beat you? What was that like?
sticks and using their hands. Mostly the common thing that they were using is, with both hands, just, on your ears, hitting, smacking your ears on both sides, build that compression and concussion that within your eardrums. It feels like, your eardrums about to pop. And that just, that hurts more than the sticks.
So they knew that tactic of torture pretty well.
Yes, they did very well. And it's something we've taught them. I mean,
So,
unfortunately.
Wow. So the United States government taught them how to torture terrorists. And so they're now using that terrorist torture tactic information out of you. And it's now full circle.
Tactic and everything, everything.
Wow.
Yeah. And when they're talking to me and I'm just laughing, and it's like, yeah, okay, I'm trained interrogator, translator too. So
so they're beating the crap out of you, and you're a trained interrogator. You knew their methodology. You knew what was coming next.
Exactly.
Oh wow. So you're just going boom, boom. Your head just rocking back and forth. You're probably bleeding out of the ear a little bit, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Just wow. Yeah. Did you at one time think you're going to be dead here soon if this keeps up?
That was running through my mind until the last day. The last day I got out. It was, afterwards, the mind games and the psycho games that they played on you, and telling you nobody cares, telling you nobody is worth, asking about you. You have absolutely no communication with absolutely nobody outside the cell. People would start believing that,
Mm-hmm.
But for me, knowing that, it could be this is it, you usually say, well, you live day by day. Over there it was, minute by minute.
Minute by minute. Wow.
Yeah, minute by minute. You never know when they're gonna pull you out of the, when they're gonna pull you out of the cell and take you for additional interrogation and stuff like that. So every time you hear that clunking of the metal doors, the cells over there are all solitary confinement, built by the U.S. government, by our tax dollars, of course, to house and maintain Al-Qaeda. And so they're designed to be, absolutely designed to be escape proof. You can't escape. It's thick brick walls all around with the metal door, and just solitary confinement. Nothing. The only thing there is, there is a hole in the wall up in the corner for ventilation, and that's it. And so, yeah, but I knew from the second day that this facility was ours. I didn't know where it was, but I knew it was, built by us, because when I woke up the next day, the tradition over there is the newest prisoner breaks bread in the morning for breakfast. He breaks, So I woke up and these guys, clunking of the doors, bringing in, the food, the breakfast. So they brought the breakfast and they had it set, bowl of beans with some bread, and there was 3 guys there. I remember seeing them, not seeing them, but I remember, feeling these guys when they put me to bed, because they tossed me into the cell, and these guys, cleared one of the mattresses and blanket and pillow, and, on the side, they cleared it and they put me to sleep and covered me and all of that. So I got up the next day to them, waiting for me to wake up to, break breakfast, and they would not eat until the new guy breaks breakfast with them. So after, I broke breakfast with them, then we decided, sat down and introduced each other. And to my surprise, Two of them are Al Qaeda prisoners.
Oh, no way. You're sitting in the cell with Al Qaeda people.
Yep,
How
two of them
beautiful, how
Al
beautiful is
Qaeda.
that? So you
Yeah,
have to figure out how to survive with them.
yep. And one guy was in there for counterfeiting government stamps. So that was, something else.
And
It
were
was
they serving you guys like omelet and eggs and mashed potatoes and all that for breakfast, or pancakes with blueberries and whipped cream and all that for breakfast?
well, it was on the menu, but they wouldn't serve it.
What was
That
What was the typical meal for it? What was it like? You said grapes and walnuts and stuff like that, and raisins. That was a typical thing.
Oh no, that was just for the holiday. That's a
Oh,
holiday treat. Yeah,
okay.
that was for the what they call the Eid, the holiday. The breakfast was beans with bread that they cook. I mean, they bake at the military installation, hard bread, and the what's called the lunch. The first week, the lunch was not bad because it was still they still had the what's called the contract going with the local restaurant paid by the U.S. of course. So it wasn't
Wow.
bad. The lunch wasn't bad. I mean, a good bowl, a big, they would bring a big tray of not big, but like a takeout container full
Okay.
of rice and a couple of pieces of chicken for all, for the four of us. It was not bad, but after 2 weeks, when the money ran out, it started to get a little crappy. Dinner was whatever is left over from breakfast, and they would mix it with peas and serve it with bread again. Yeah, and a cup of tea, of course.
Did you and the
And
inmates eat together or separate cells?
yes, no,
Uh,
not all the inmates. No, just whoever is in a cell with you.
so you're sharing a cell with somebody else.
Yeah, a cell that was designed for one person. It was,
Wow.
yeah, it's what was like, I want to say 5 by 10.
That's small.
Yeah, with what we call a D in the corner, 1 meter by 1 meter, which is 3 feet by 3 feet. That was our bathroom, which is a hole in the ground and a faucet with a bucket for showers. So
Wow.
so whenever you wanted to take a shower, you would have to wait till like about 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, when the sun beats on the pipes and on the storage tank up on the roof, makes it a little warm, and then you take a shower. Otherwise, it's cold showers. You
Wow.
wait until it's heated.
And how long
So
were you locked up for? How many months were you in?
177 days, 6 months.
Wow. 6 months. That's a long time.
Yeah.
What was the worst torture they gave you?
I would have to say, the first 2 weeks, I was being interrogated like about every other day. Every time you hear them, coming down the hallway and the clunking of the doors, all of the cells over there, I learned from the cellmates that were there. You learn that, okay, oh boy, or, they would say something else. It's like everybody sitting in that cell. By that time, we were 3 people in that cell, me and the 2 Al Qaeda guys. The other guy got let go. So we would sit there and we would stare at each other. And they would say, I mean, every cell over there, the same thing. They would sit there and stare at each other. Who are they coming to get? And normally, I mean, they would, come and pick up like 2 to 3 people, and take them at a time. So, you'd hear it clink, clink, and then you wait and see, is our cell door going to open, or the cell next door is going to open, and we would, look at each other. Who is it? Who's next? Who's going to be picked up? And that fear in itself, right there. And if you are being picked up to go into be interrogated, are you coming back? Because they tell you sometimes, in some instance, especially if you're going to be interrogated at night, the chances of you coming back to the cell is not well. So what they do is, sometimes, yes, you disappear. Sometimes they move you to another cell to make the other guys think that you're not coming back. They took care of you. So that mind, they play with that mind games. It's like, if you're not going to tell us what we want to know, it's not going to be, it's not going to be a very good outcome. So I would say, the first 2 months, the beatings were pretty bad. That's my dog wagging his tail.
No problem.
Yeah. So
Did they ever waterboard you, anything like that?
no, just beatings.
Just beatings. Okay.
Yeah, just beating sticks, and that few times, threats with with the gun in my, to my head.
Hmm.
Yeah, a few times with the gun, threats to my head, but that's, but no, thank God, no electrical and no waterboarding.
Oh God,
But,
that'd be the worst.
Yeah. One time, I told the guys that they said, wow, that's pretty good. I hold the record of breaking 3 sticks in one interrogation. So
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's a good record.
Yeah,
Must be one hard-headed guy.
Yeah. And I told them they broke 3 sticks today. It's like, whoa, that's you.
So it sounds like the beatings and all that subsided after time. They just got tired of beating you after a while.
After about, I want to say about 6 weeks, 7 weeks. Yeah. What happened was during the prayers one time, I started getting chest pains. And they, and I fainted, fell down, and they started asking me what's going on. They haven't been giving me, I asked for my meds, but they wouldn't give me my medications. And I have, open heart triple bypass surgery. And I told them that, I have triple bypass surgery. I need my medication, and they wouldn't give it to me. So these guys said, when I started getting chest pains, she said, don't just say chest pains. They'll just leave you alone. It's like, okay. They said, these are the 2 Al-Qaeda guys, and both of them are medics for Al-Qaeda.
Wow. Go figure.
Yeah. They said, let's start acting like it's a massive heart attack so they can take you to the hospital. And he said, okay, let's do that. So I started faking a massive heart attack, even though I still had the chest pains. But I was like, it's like, I can't do the, man. But it took them like about 3 to 4 hours to get me to a hospital. If it was a real massive heart attack, I would have been done. But
wow.
Until they got the approval and this, and they packed, when they took me to the hospital, the guy, the doctor over there took my information and all of that, and saw, my chest wound and my arm where they pulled the veins out of. And I told him, he asked, are you taking any medication? I said, nope, they wouldn't let me have any. And he went berserk on them. It's like he did, and he wrote my medication. He asked me which one I'm taking out. He wrote them down, and right there, after he did the EKG and all of this, he said, that's it for me. I'm not doing nothing with this guy because I'm not going to be responsible for him.